Welcome back to the MA English Cafe. Grab a seat and a coffee because today we're tackling a huge topic that affects so many people. Living alone versus living with family. It's a classic dilemma, right? And I'm ready to get into it with my co-host, the one and only
Jenny. And Ben, this topic is something I think about a lot. As everyone knows, I still live with my family, and honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The comfort, the support, it's just something you can't get anywhere else. You've always got someone to talk to after a long day.
I totally get it, Jen. I agree with you 100%. The benefits of living with family are just unmatched. The shared meals, the constant company, the feeling of not being completely on your own, it's a great feeling. But for me, as you know, my job requires me to live alone. So while I miss all that family life has to offer, I've also come to see that living solo has its own set of advantages. It's not just about the downsides.
That's what I want to hear about. From my point of view, living with family is all about that constant energy. There's always something going on, someone to share a laugh with, or a family member to help you solve a problem. It feels like a team effort. You never have to deal with a broken appliance or a plumbing issue by yourself. There's a built-in support system for everything, from the small stuff to the big stuff.
That's a huge point. The collective responsibility is a game changer. I mean, just think about the household chores. When you live with family, you can split the tasks like a shared mission. But when you live alone, the dishes, the laundry, the cleaning, it's all on you. You become the cook, the cleaner, the handyman, the plumber, all at the same time. It can be a lot. And of course, the financial side is a massive plus. The cost of rent, bills, groceries, all of that is a heavy burden on one person. I miss that shared financial load for sure.
Exactly. And it's the little things too. Like if you're sick, there's a family member who will check on you, bring you soup, or make sure you have medicine. That kind of care and security is priceless. I think a lot of people might think living with family means less freedom, but for me, the security it provides gives me the freedom to focus on other things like my career and hobbies without constantly worrying about the day-to-day logistics of running a household on my own.
No, I completely agree. It's a safety net, both financially and emotionally. That's the part I miss the most. But there's also the flip side, the things you gain when you live alone. And it's not what people always expect. It's not just about silence. So let's talk about the positives of living alone. From my perspective. The first, and maybe most important, is the freedom to set your own schedule. I mean, if I want to eat cereal for dinner, I can. If I want to leave my shoes in the living room, I can. There's no one to negotiate with about the TV remote, what to watch, or what time to go to bed. You have full control over your environment, and you get to decide how your space is organized. This level of autonomy is huge. It really forces you to take responsibility for your own life and your own decisions. It's a huge lesson in self-reliance.
Cereal for dinner? Ben, that sounds interesting. But I can see the appeal of having total control. For me, living with family means a lot of compromise. We have a shared schedule, shared spaces, and we're always coordinating with each other. It can get a bit chaotic, especially with everyone's different routines.
It can, but with living alone, you get to create a routine that is 100% tailored to you. You learn to listen to your own needs. For example, I've become a lot more organized and disciplined with my finances and chores because there's no one else to do it. You have to learn how to be an adult, and you grow from that experience in a way that you don't when you have others to lean on. Another big plus is the personal space. There's a quietness that you can't get in a shared house. It's not just a lack of noise, it's a sense of peace that allows you to think, recharge, and focus. For someone like me who needs that quiet time to work and be creative, it's invaluable.
I can imagine. Sometimes our house is buzzing with activity from morning until night, and finding a quiet corner to focus can be a real challenge. You're right. That private space is a huge luxury. So What about hobbies? Do you feel like you have more freedom to pursue your interests?
Absolutely. You can dedicate a room or a corner of your space to your hobbies without having to get permission or worry about taking up shared space. You can be as messy or as tidy as you want. It's also about having the mental space to explore your own interests. With no distractions, you can truly dive into a project, a book, or a new skill. The silence allows you to think and reflect more deeply, which I think is essential for personal growth. It's a chance to truly get to know yourself without external influences. It sounds a bit serious, but it's true. It's a kind of self-discovery journey.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're saying that living alone has made you more independent, more disciplined, and more self-aware.
That's a good way to put it. You build your own systems for everything. You learn how to solve problems on your own, which builds incredible confidence. You also learn to appreciate the company of others a lot more when you do see them. When my family comes to visit, it feels like a real treat, a special occasion. I never take it for granted. So, while I'm still a huge advocate for the family life, I've also learned to appreciate the unique strengths you build when you live alone. It's not a compromise, it's a different path to growth.
That's a really interesting perspective, Ben. So let's get into the nitty-gritty for our English learners. What are some key phrases and vocabulary related to these two lifestyles that they can use?
Great question. Let's start with living with family. You might say, I live in a multi-generational home, which is a more formal way of saying you live with your parents or grandparents. Another great phrase is, my family and I split the bills, which is a practical way to talk about shared finances. For the chores, you could say, we all pitch in, meaning everyone helps out.
I love pitch in. It's so natural. And for the feeling of comfort, you could say we're always there for each other. Or for the busy atmosphere, you could describe it as the house is always bustling with activity. And when you share a laugh over dinner, you can say we have a strong sense of togetherness.
Perfect phrases. Now, for living alone, you might use phrases like, I have my own place, which is a common and casual way to say it. To talk about the peace and quiet, you could say, I enjoy my solitude. Or more simply, I like having my own space. And for the independence aspect, you could say, I'm completely independent, or I'm my own boss at home.
So it's about being self-sufficient, right? You could say, I handle everything myself, from the cooking to the cleaning. What about the quiet time you mentioned?
You could say, I value my alone time. That's a great phrase to express that it's a positive choice, not a negative thing. You can also talk about the responsibility it builds by saying, living alone has taught me to be more responsible. It's a great phrase to show personal growth.
That's a really powerful one. Okay, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick role play. I'll ask you a question, and you can answer from your perspective. Ready?
Ready.
Ben, what is the biggest lesson you have learned from living alone, and how has it changed you?
That's a deep question, Jen. I would say the biggest lesson is that independence isn't about being completely on your own. It's about knowing you can be. It's about building the confidence to handle life's challenges without always needing to rely on someone else. It's about learning to enjoy your own company and finding peace in the quiet moments. It hasn't made me want to live alone forever, but it has made me a much more capable and self-assured person. It's a different kind of strength, and I think it's a valuable experience.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And it's a great lesson for all of our English learners. Whether you live with family or on your own, the most important thing is to be comfortable and confident where you are.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for joining us at the MA English Cafe. We'll see you next time.